The murder of 15-year-old Kelly Jane Evelyn Cook remains one of Canada's most haunting unsolved crimes. On the night of April 22nd, 1981, Kelly accepted what appeared to be an ordinary babysitting job in the small farming village of Standard, Alberta, and was never seen alive again. 2 months later, her body was discovered in Chin Lake Reservoir, over 200 kilometres away. Despite decades of investigation, thousands of interviews, and national media attention, her killer has never been identified or brought to justice. In 1981, Standard, Alberta was a small and peaceful community of fewer than 400 residents. Located about 70 kilometres northeast of Calgary, it was the kind of place where everyone knew one another, a village where trust and routine defined daily life. The Cook family, who had moved there from Montreal 3 years earlier, quickly became part of the close-knit farming town. 15-year-old Kelly Cook was known for her intelligence, kindness, and maturity beyond her years. She was a popular student who earned good grades and loved figure skating. Her ambition was to become a lawyer one day. She also occasionally babysat for local families, as many responsible teenagers in small communities did. No one could have predicted that such a routine part-time job would lead to one of Alberta's most tragic, unsolved crimes. The morning of April 22nd, 1981 began like any other for the Cook family. At 8:20 a.m, the family's phone rang and Kelly answered. No one spoke on the other end, so she hung up the phone. Moments later, the phone rang again. This time, a man's voice came through. He introduced himself as Bill Christensen and asked if Kelly would babysit for him that evening. Kelly hesitated. She didn't recognise the name. However, Christensen was a common surname in the area, and the man told her he had received her number from another girl, one of Kelly's figure skating friends, who had been unable to take the job herself. That detail gave Kelly and her family some reassurance that this was genuine. After checking with her parents, Kelly agreed to take the job. The caller said he would pick her up from their home at approximately 8:30 p.m. that evening. That night, as promised, a car pulled up outside the Cook residence. The man inside the vehicle, described as a cream-coloured full-sized North American car, while Kelly said goodbye to her family. Her mother watched from the window as Kelly got into the car. She told her parents she would call them once she arrived at the babysitting location. However, the phone never rang. When Kelly failed to call home as promised, her parents immediately grew concerned. Hours passed with no word from her. By midnight, panic set in, and they contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, to report her as a missing person. Within just hours, more than 350 police officers, local residents and volunteers mobilised to search a vast 1,250 square mile area by foot, vehicle, horseback and aircraft, but no sign of Kelly was found. Police quickly determined that no one named Bill Christensen lived in or near Standard. The name was a false identity. Investigators began piecing together reports from locals who had noticed a dark-haired, middle-aged man acting suspiciously in the days leading up to Kelly's disappearance. At a local service station, the owner recalled that a man matching that description had stopped in earlier that day to make a phone call. The payphone outside was broken, so the man asked to use the phone in the shop. The owner described him as rude and arrogant, with dark, possibly curly hair, medium build, and the look of a farmer. While the man was on the phone, the owner overheard part of his conversation. It was about babysitting. From this information, police created a composite sketch of a suspect, a man aged between 30 and 45 years old, about 5'9" to 5'10" tall, with a medium build and clean-shaven with dark hair. The sketch generated numerous tips, however sadly none led to Kelly. One tip, however, disturbed investigators to the core. A telephone operator in Calgary reported receiving a call from a payphone in Hussar, a small town about 20 minutes from Standard, on the same night Kelly vanished. Around 10 to 10:30 p.m, the operator answered the call and heard what sounded like a young girl's scream, followed by silence. Then the line went dead. Police could not trace the call's exact origin or determine who made it, but they suspected it could be linked to Kelly's abduction. Despite this chilling lead, weeks passed without progress. The search for Kelly stretched into months, consuming the small community and drawing media attention across Alberta and beyond. On June the 28th of 1981, over 2 months after Kelly vanished, 3 boys cycling near Chin Lake Reservoir, an irrigation canal east of Lethbridge, roughly 200 kilometres from Standard, made a horrifying discovery. The water level was unusually low due to drought, and they spotted a body face down on the shore. Dental records later confirmed the worst fears. It was 15-year-old Kelly Cook. Her body was fully clothed and bound with ropes, weighed down by 2 cinder blocks tied to her side. Ropes were wrapped around her ankles, hips and shoulders, and investigators believed the killer had used them to ensure she sank. Due to decomposition from prolonged submersion, determining an exact cause of death was difficult to say the least. However, the autopsy revealed no evidence of sexual assault, and investigators concluded Kelly most likely died of asphyxia. The discovery confirmed what the Cook family and the village had dreaded. Kelly had been murdered. Yet it provided no new answers about who had done it, or why. From the beginning, RCMP investigators believed the abduction was carefully premeditated. The use of a common name like Bill Christensen suggested the perpetrator deliberately chose an alias that would not raise suspicion. He had likely studied in the community, learned the names of local teenagers who babysat, and even gathered details from public sources such as newspaper articles about local figure skaters. The fact that he remained inside the car, avoiding showing his face to Kelly's parents, and drove a nondescript vehicle also indicated methodical planning. The distance between Standard and Chin Lake Reservoir suggested he was familiar with rural Alberta and comfortable driving long distances unnoticed. The RCMP consulted with the FBI, who assisted in developing a psychological profile. The killer was believed to be an organised, confident male individual, possibly with farming or mechanical experience, who blended into rural life easily. Despite this, however, the trail went cold. One of the most disturbing incidents in the aftermath of Kelly's death occurred while her body was at a funeral home in Calgary. An unknown man arrived, claiming to be a friend of the family, and demanded to see Kelly's body. Staff, uneasy about his behaviour, denied the request. The man eventually left and was never identified. Police later speculated that this could have been Kelly's killer returning to view his victim. a chilling thought that only deepened the mystery. In the years following Kelly's murder, the RCMP continued to pursue leads. They interviewed over 2,000 possible suspects, built a special room filled floor to ceiling with case files, and re-examined evidence multiple times using new technologies. Despite these exhaustive efforts, however, no one has ever been charged with the murder. The village of Standard established a 100,000 Canadian dollar reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction of the perpetrator, a reward that remains unclaimed to this day. Public interest in the case has never fully faded. Every few years, new media attention rekindles hope for a breakthrough. In 2010, renewed coverage prompted the RCMP to reopen parts of the investigation, but again, unfortunately, no definitive leads emerged. For Kelly's family, the decades since 1981 have been marked by grief, unanswered questions, and enduring resilience. Her sister, Marnie Cathell, who was just 12 at the time of her sister's murder, vividly recalls watching Kelly get into the car that night through the basement window, the last time she ever saw her sister alive. Marnie has since spoken publicly about the lasting pain of the loss, quote, "To say we miss her, for sure, but I don't think we can actually miss her being anymore because it has been so many years, but we definitely miss what should be." She describes the family's grief not as something that fades, but as something they have learned to live with. It's just life now. It's just what we've had to learn to live with. There's no acceptance in it. There's no closure. Over the years, the Cook family has expressed mixed feelings about the possibility of the case finally being solved. As Marnie once reflected, "If it all changed tomorrow and we had all those answers, I don't know if any of us are prepared for that. Justice makes that individual accountable, but it doesn't bring her home. It doesn't change it." The RCMP have stated that the case remains active. However, as with many decades-old investigations, time presents challenges. Witnesses die, memories fade, and evidence deteriorates. Marnie has acknowledged that while her family wants answers, they understand that law enforcement must balance resources between cold cases and current crimes. She also cautioned against amateur online investigators who speculate recklessly, sometimes naming innocent people on forums or social media. Such speculation can cause harm and distract from legitimate efforts to find the truth. Nevertheless, both the RCMP and the Cook family remain hopeful that someone, somewhere, still holds information. Perhaps a person who once heard a confession, or a scorned acquaintance, tired of keeping a killer's secret. As investigators told the family many years ago, this case might one day be solved through a deathbed confession, or a change of conscience. Kelly Jane Evelyn Cook was just 15 years old when she was abducted and killed. She was buried in Standard Cemetery in the community she had come to call home. Her parents Walter and Marion remained in Standard for the rest of their lives, keeping their daughter's memory alive through quiet perseverance. Walter passed away in 2007, never knowing who was responsible for his daughter's death. In the years since, the people of Standard have continued to remember Kelly through memorials, community discussions, and renewed calls for justice. For them, her story serves as both a warning and a remembrance, a testament to lost innocence in a place where such a crime seemed unimaginable. More than 4 decades after her abduction, Kelly Cook's murder remains unsolved. Despite exhaustive investigation and thousands of leads, her killer has never been identified, yet the case continues to symbolise resilience and remembrance of a family's love and a community's determination not to forget. The RCMP maintain that the investigation is still active and a 100,000 Canadian dollar reward remains for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Someone, somewhere, still knows the truth. For the Cook family, justice will never undo their loss, but it would finally bring an answer to the question that has haunted them for more than 40 years. Who killed Kelly Cook?